This video is going to show you how to use the move and copy commands. I'm grouping the two of them together because the procedures to use both commands are very similar. The move command can be used in a number of different ways. We can use it to move things very quickly, just kind of get them out of the way, move them to a different area on the screen. We can move them using object snaps to line points up on one set of objects with another set of objects. We can use them to move objects using relative Cartesian coordinates or relative polar coordinates. And we'll do all of those. I'm going to go up here and grab the move command. It's going to prompt me to select objects, and in this case I'll just put a window around everything. And I'll hit enter because I'm done selecting objects. And then it prompts me for a base point. It's got some options like the displacement option. We're not even going to discuss that. It's really not even a valid option anymore. I'm just going to pick a point, and then I'm just going to move it to another location. Anywhere I go, I'm just moving all of them. I call this kind of a let's just get it out of the way type of thing. Didn't really have any rhyme or reason to move them there. I just got them out of the way. I wanted to put them lower on my screen. Now, if I wanted to move a group of objects, let's say that I would like the midpoint of this line to be right at the end point of that line. I want to move that whole square. I would just grab my move command again, and a keyboard shortcut for move is just the M key. So if I just type in an M and hit enter and select these objects and hit enter because I'm all done selecting objects and pick a base point such as the midpoint. Now I'm not being quite so sloppy with it like I was with the first example. Then it's prompting me for the second point, and I'll just move it over here till it lines up with that end point. And there's a very accurate move. I lined up the midpoint of that bottom line with the end point of this line. I could do another move very quickly, just hitting enter repeats the last command, and I can pick this object, and let's just move it so its center is right at the midpoint dragged over and the midpoint dragged down. We just used object snap tracking to get that object perfectly centered. So that's the move command using object snaps. I'm going to undo a couple of times just to put us back to where we were. And I'm now going to move objects using Cartesian coordinates. Let's say for some reason or other, this square, which happens to be exactly 4 units by 4 units, let's say I wanted to move that over 3 units and up 2 units from where it is. So I'll grab my move command again. I'll put a window around these objects. And when it prompts me for a base point, I'm going to actually, or I'll just pick any point. Doesn't really matter where I pick. Okay, I can pick anywhere because it's all relative. That point or any other point that I picked, I'm going to reference that with my second point simply by typing in coordinates like 3, 2. And it moves over that far. If I hit undo to put it back, I could do this kind of backwards. I'll do an M for the move command. I'll grab these objects again. And you can see at the command prompt that it's prompting me for the displacement. Instead of picking a base point, I can type in 3, 2 right now. Oops, I'm sorry. I can type in 3, 2 right now. And then at the second point prompt, just hit enter. And that's going to be using the first point as the displacement. I'm going to displace this 3 units in the right or in the x direction and 2 units in the y direction. And the exact same thing happens. Most people just pick a point and then type in the coordinates that they want it to move, and all is fine. I will do another move using polar coordinates, and let's move this circle this time. I didn't have to put a window around it. I could have just picked it, but I'm done selecting objects, so I'll hit enter. And let's say I want to move this 5 units at an angle of 30 degrees. I can pick any point, and then I can type in 5 and tab, and I'm tabbing into the angle box now, and I'll just type in 30 and hit enter. Okay. I can also do that. I'm going to undo that. I can also do that using direct distance entry and polar tracking. I can pick any point I want. I can move at a 30-degree angle, and I can just type in 5 and hit enter, and I bypassed having to enter that angular entry. So I will undo that and undo that just to get back to here. And I'm just going to talk about the copy command very quickly, because those are different methods for moving, just kind of moving them sloppily out of the way, moving them by using object snaps, moving objects using Cartesian coordinates, and moving objects using polar coordinates. All of those still hold true exactly with the copy command. The only difference with the copy command is that the original objects are going to stay right where they were, and you'll just get a copy in the new location. I'll select these objects here and hit enter, and I'll pick a point, and I'll pick another point, and notice that the copy command also doesn't end itself. Very often we want to make many copies of objects, so I can make as many copies as I want. When I'm all done, I hit enter. I'll undo that. If I wanted just one copy, I'll go up here. CO is a keyboard shortcut for copy. Instead of picking it out of the ribbon, I can pick these objects once again and hit enter. If I wanted to always just make a single copy, I can go down here into my command prompt area, and I can pick mode. And I can change this from multiple mode to single mode. And now I can select a base point and then a new point. And the command is done after making just a single copy. That's the way the copy command used to work about maybe 8-9 years ago. They changed it to be multiple like that. I very often change my machine to be doing single just because I'm very old school and I don't typically need a lot of copies. If I do need a lot of copies, I can switch the mode back to multiple. On your stations at home, changing that mode option is going to stay that way until you change it to something else. On the stations at Fox Valley Technical College, with deep freeze, it's going to go back to the out-of-the-box situation, which is going to stick the mode into multiple. And again, all of those same methods of creating creating a difference between the base point and the excuse me, and the second point, I can lock into a 45-degree angle this time. Okay, and I'll say 5, and I get a copy 5 units away. So all those same methods, Cartesian coordinates, polar coordinates, just picking or picking using object snaps, all of those work just fine with copy, just like they did with move.